We welcome you out west to Denver, where coming up we'll have more NCAA men's lacrosse tournament action for you with the 6-seed Notre Dame squaring off with red-hot Drexel out of the CAA. However, Lightning rolled through Peter Barton Stadium about 70 minutes ago during warm-up, so the teams had to clear the field, push the timing back, and we are now scheduled to come back here at 5:24 Eastern for a 5:26 face-off. Should be fun. Come on back, 5:24 Eastern. Do not be late. Games that have gone final with North Carolina and Rutgers advancing. So with all of that, we say hello and thanks for joining us. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco with you, and Matt, Notre Dame and Drexel. And for Notre Dame, it's the NCAA tournament debut of Tewaaraton Award finalist Pat Cavanaugh.
We are in for a treat. He is probably my favorite player in college lacrosse. He is a quarterback, but he also is unbelievably flashy. Right here, you're going to see a package of goals, every one a little bit different. The back end there off the rebound. The casual through the legs, diving towards the center of the crease area. And then just how smooth is this? The behind the back. And again, he can just find a way to get the ball on the cage. He's gritty. What we love best about him too, though, I mean, he is the quarterback. He is second in the country in assists per game. He's one of 5 finalists for the Tewaaraton Award.
A tall task, Matt, for Drexel, which is in the NCAA tournament for the second time in program history, and they're red hot. Last loss was 57 days ago.
9 straight. 2 of those wins were revenging the losses they had earlier in the season against Delaware and UMass. They have showed up today. They're going to compete, and this is a team that's deep. They have 6 players with more than 10 goals on this roster, so they're a very talented team.
And they've got a goalie that's playing pretty well. Also, the junior Ross Blumenthal from Baltimore, who in the CAA championship game against Hofstra last Saturday had 8 saves in the first half. His teammates said he was standing on his head. And at the other end for Notre Dame, Liam Entenmann, what a season for the sophomore.
Yeah, Entenmann led the ACC in saves per game and saves percentages and the least amount of goals. So, you know, he's gotten better too. And I know Coach Corrigan early in the year had questions. We haven't really seen him play a full 4 quarters, right? He's been great for 3 quarters, but he's maybe kind of faded off towards the end of the game, but they're going to need him to play at a high level.
Well, we had some lightning out here right when warm-ups were getting started. You wouldn't know it right now with this weather, but we are getting underway just a little bit delayed, and Notre Dame controls the first face-off. Matt, what are we going to see from Notre Dame offensively against this Drexel D?
You know, again, when you look at this Notre Dame team, it is very well-rounded, right? They have a lot of depth in the midfield, but most of the time it's going to get through X, and Pat Cavanaugh is going to be that quarterback. He is flashy, but he also, he just doesn't make mistakes. He has very few turnovers. He is gritty. I mean, if I'm Notre Dame, I'm going through him on every possession.
Here he is from X. Sean Quinn is 43 in the Navy for Drexel. Draws the assignment. He's going to see a lot of Pat Cavanaugh here today. Low angle shot, and Notre Dame strikes first with Wheaton Jacobois.
This is what you're going to see from Notre Dame on the offensive end, just sound team offense. You can see York here. The slide comes, the quick pass to Dobson, and the one more to Jacobois. You love to see that if you're Notre Dame, a team that probably feels a little slighted as the 6th team. Quite frankly, I think they are probably, for my bet, the most well-rounded and probably the best team in the country right now. So they are loaded, and right there you just get a glimpse of what this offense can do.
And they didn't really dance around that topic. I mean, they're the 6th seed, and to an extent, they feel disrespected by that. So we're going to see how they come out here against the Drexel team that's got to stare that down, an angry Notre Dame bunch. You see the Irish at 7-3 overall, went 3-3 in the ACC. Currently, in the most recent Inside Lacrosse poll at 4, but they do draw the 6th seed. And they're off to the 1-0 start here, just getting things underway in Denver. And Blumenthal makes the save on the freshman midfielder, Eric Dobson.
And a nice job from Blumenthal there. Dobson, a left-handed midi for Notre Dame, crashing down the back post, but Dobson played his angles well, was very patient and matched stick for a big-time save for Drexel as they now get the first offensive possession.
coming in on a 9-game winning streak, took down Hofstra in the CAA championship game, like we said, last Saturday out on Long Island. Now, what do you think of the matchup for them offensively against another stingy, as usual, Notre Dame D?
Yeah, they're going to have a tough time, I think, winning the one-on-one matchups. So Coach Volker said, hey, we got to get them to slide. We have to find someone who can create an advantage, force Notre Dame to slide, and then that's when Drexel at their best on their off-ball movement and feeding the crease as they tied the score at 1 here with a nice goal off the rebound.
Yeah, rebounds work too, and Drexel's got an answer, and it's 1-1 early on.
And right here, again, this is that offense. They force the slide, then they find the inside, and a nice save from Entenmann. But it's off the rebound here, in and out of his stick to the far post. This Drexel team, they're going to bring it. I mean, they're feeling confident. They've won 9 straight games. They've gotten better as the year has progressed, and they're playing their best lacrosse here. And again, they came here to win.
Ryan Genord at the goal. We saw him with something similar. Gritty in the semifinals of the Colonial Tournament against UMass. And trying to take off the face-off. Drexel in a scrum for it now.
And the face-off X is going to be key for Drexel. They need to be at the 50-50 level in this game to have a chance. And right now, look at the scrap in the middle of the field.
Oh my goodness. This is mayhem. Let's go. Some
you can just feel
very excited
the energy.
Drexel members on the sideline. Well, you made the point, Matt. When we talked with Brian Volker, 12th season head coach of the Dragons, he said nobody thinks we really have a chance to win this game, but we do. And we've heard what everyone has said. He said our guys read stuff, they see everything, they know what the predictions are. We're coming raring to go.
And so far in their first 2 offensive possessions, they are executing, they are making Notre Dame slide, and they're creating opportunities off ball.
Here's 21. This is Reed Bowring, 5th-year senior from British Columbia, the most outstanding player of the Colonial Tournament, creeping up on being the all-time leading goal scorer at Drexel, and he puts the Dragons in front.
Just what the doctor ordered for the Dragons, taking a 2-1 lead, beginning to believe that they are going to be in this game. And Bowring, the Canadian, the lefty, right here, matched up against Harris. Low to high around here. Look at the screen here. I mean, no way Entenmann's seeing that release point. He wraps it around Harris's body. Reed Bowring with his 22nd goal of the season.
And number 144 of his career. We mentioned this. Jeff Miller's record has stood since the 70s. And we chatted with Bowring this week, and he said to us, it's always been his dream to play in the NCAA tournament. Fell short his first 4 years, now in his 5th year. And he's got Drexel on top of Notre Dame, the 6th seed, and a face-off win for the Irish with Charlie Leonard. So 3 of the first 4 face-offs to Notre Dame. As Matt said, that's going to be something to monitor, as it always is with the 2-headed tandem for the Irish going up against Jimmy Koida for Drexel. And Notre Dame trying to answer that one, ricocheted off the shot from Griffin Westland. And a fresh timer for the Irish, but a takeaway for Drexel. Here comes Sean Quinn. He has scored in the last 2 games with the pole. And what a check from behind by Pat Kavanaugh.
Just talk about that. This embodies him as a player, right? He's the attackman running back as a midfielder to stop the transition. When your best player is probably your hardest worker and the grittiest person on the team, it builds character, it builds confidence, and it builds the opportunity to do something special on the lacrosse field.
And just part of the reason, Matt, you said he's probably your favorite to watch in the country right now. He's special. A bouncer scores. scores for Morrison Meyer to level it at 2.
And what does that effort do from Kavanaugh? Gets him a possession, and then it leads to this effort here by Meyer, sweeping across the field to his left hand, pulling it to the far post. Look at the hips, right? It's all, the accuracy comes from getting your hips and your hands going in the same direction at the same time as Meyer nets this game, or ties this game at 2.
Get some words of wisdom over there from Ryder Garnsey as well, on staff for the Fighting Irish, led by the head coach Kevin Corrigan in his 33rd season at the helm. And the whistle goes against the Dragons at the dot. What a tenure for Kevin Corrigan, who's got this bunch as the 6th seed and maybe hungry because of that.
He's accomplished everything except that national championship. He's been close, and this team's going to have an opportunity if they can put it all together.
Here's Kavanaugh, what you're talking about, quarterbacking. You see all the highlights, but an excellent distributor as well. With Quinn on him. Now Quinn McCann. Looking for Will York. And the Irish still with it with 35 to shoot. Dobson gave it up, and Kavanaugh couldn't corral it.
And there was a right look from Dobson, the freshman from Florida. Handcuffed Kavanaugh a little bit there on the goal line, extended. You can't underestimate how important accurate passes are for an offense. It's the little things that matter most this time of year, and you have to put the ball in the exact right spot if you want to run the offense efficiently, because the defenses are too good in the NCAA tournament.
Certainly that applies to Notre Dame. Top 5 in the country in goals allowed per game at 8.5. And they put the clamps on Syracuse for a while in the most recent game for the Irish, closing down the regular season 2 weeks ago out in South Bend, a game you had.
Yeah, I mean, during the season they held Duke to 8 goals, their lowest output of the season. Robert Morris to 5 goals, I believe, the lowest output they had. So, you know, the defense for Notre Dame's always there, and this team's no different.
Bowering whistled one wide. No reset, so about 20 left on the timer for Sean Donnelly. 8 in the blue for Drexel, the Syracuse transfer. Stings that one to the right side of Entenmann.
A nice take from Donnelly there. Entenmann, fortunate that hit the post. He had come off the angle a little bit, but Notre Dame's aware to run the ball out to the sideline to get this possession offensively.
Almost came back near post on Entenmann. Donnelly, the redshirt freshman, originally from Bradenton, Florida. '17 in white is Riley Gray, getting some midfield run. Seen more of him the last few games for the Fighting Irish. Kavanaugh. Shot misses from David Lipka, the Syracuse transfer.
And that's the 2nd straight possession where Kavanaugh has gotten Drexel hung up in front of the cage, and he'll pick you apart if he can just sit at X, scanning the field. It's going to happen again here. If they can get the ball to X.
Instead, Gray was shooting, and Drexel comes up with a loose ball. Brian Volker said he does want to push things. For as good as Notre Dame and as athletic as the rope unit is for the Fighting Irish, he still wants to get out and transition.
And I think he thinks that's probably their best opportunity to get goals, right? I mean, Notre Dame, when they settle in 6-on-6, is pretty tough to beat. And the way you can counter that is to pick up the pace of play, to push in transition, to try to get uneven and unsettled scenarios in your favor.
Entenmann makes a stop on Luke Tomac, very talented freshman for the Dragons. Jack Mulcahy bottled up. And the loose ball to Aiden Call.
Credit Drexel here early in the game. These 50-50 ground balls are coming up for the Dragons. It's those possessions that will be critical for them if they want to do something special in this game.
They got a flag down after the shot as Entenmann made the stop on Jack Mulcahy.
White, number 10, 1 minute, cross check.
So it's on Jack Kilty.
And we're gonna see Mulcahy step up the field a little early on that shot, but Kilty comes in high and late, extends his arms up towards the neck area. That's gonna get called every time. Mulcahy for Drexel needs to take another step there to create more angle if he's gonna gut that shot past Entenmann in the cage for the Fighting Irish.
Drexel 32% man up this year. And the first EMO of the game. Bowering went behind the back there on the doorstep. Here's Janor. Runs point on the man up. Getting some good looks here on Entenmann. Step down, got deflected off of Sean Donnelly's cross on the shot. Final 12 seconds of the man up.
They haven't put one in the back of the cage here, but the man up looks sharp. They're moving the ball quickly in and out of sticks. They're getting good inside cuts.
Call gave it up. Janord. And we're back to even strength. Three looks there for Drexel on the man up. Kilty back in. It's a long possession as well for Notre Dame defensively. Bowering's pass didn't find a stick. Hallenbeck comes up with the ground ball. And it's coming out with Notre Dame. Five shots, that trip down for Drexel.
And it generated some nice offensive opportunities. Entenmann stood tall in cage, making 3 saves.
He's up to 5 total already. We've had few stoppages. 2-2 the score, and that one from Dobson comes all the way back out, rang it off a pipe. Jacoboy's just cleaned someone out, and Drexel comes up with it.
As physical a start to a game that I can remember this season. And Drexel understands they have to play that way. They have to compete. They have to show this Fighting Irish team that they're every bit the athletes and just as gritty, and so far, so good for the Drexel Dragons.
We have powered through 12 minutes here in Denver at Peter Barton Stadium. The 6th seed Notre Dame against Drexel. First round action, 3rd game of the day. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco, our entire crew. And off to a fast-paced physical start in this one. Step down, bullet is saved by Entenmann.
What a save from Entenmann. Just stared it down the whole way. I mean, you have to be out of your mind to be a goalie. That's coming 90 miles an hour from 5 yards away, and to not flinch and to see it and to catch it outright. Give me a break.
No, thank you. We'll leave that to Quinn. So with all the chances that we've had in the last few minutes, this a 2-2 game. 2 minutes to go, first quarter. And Notre Dame with it once again. Drexel not hung up this time. Here's Pat Cavanaugh. Oh, Notre Dame weaving in there. And they'll back this one up with 20 left. Wheaton Jacobois had the first one for Notre Dame, and he puts them back in front with goal number 2.
Cavanaugh gets all the attention in the lacrosse world, but it's this midfield to me that is going to make this Notre Dame team a big-time threat to take the championship. Jacobois to the middle of the field, the patience, the perfect placement to give the Fighting Irish the 1-goal lead here.
Back in Denver, late first quarter, and Notre Dame with a 1-goal margin against Drexel, led by the 12th-year head coach and Colonial Coach of the Year, Brian Volker, a star in his playing days, a Hall of Famer, and he's done a great job in getting Drexel to its second NCAA tournament, Matt.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job. This Drexel team is, they've only made a couple tournaments, but man, they've been close, and he scheduled some good teams. I mean, they started their season for a number of years against Virginia, and it was always a 1 or 2 goal game. I mean, this is a team that's battle tested. They take on the personality of their head coach, who's one of the legends that our game has had as a player, and he's building quite the coaching resume as well.
And like a lot of teams in this uneven COVID season, they got a late start. They didn't really have any semblance of fall ball. They had 20 or so guys working out, he was telling us, doing some stick work and some conditioning. Then they got hit with about 20 guys who came down with positive COVID cases right before they were going to get started back in late January, and finally able to get underway. 2 losses in the first 8 days for them of the season, and they have not lost in about 2 months since.
That stretch, they beat UMass, they beat Delaware, they beat a very good Hofstra team. I mean, this is a team that they're there. I mean, this is a very good team, and they're showing it here early on in this contest.
Trouble with the clear, and it leads to a Will York goal, and Notre Dame leads by 2.
Will York, the transfer from Bucknell. Hallenbeck with the pass, and just right here, step up. York as good as anyone in that little corner. Low to high. I mean, that's just filthy. The near side, in and out of his stick, effortless. Those are the types of plays Drexel has to avoid. They can't give Notre Dame those easy transition goals.
York tied for the team lead now with Pat Cavanaugh with those 23 goals, and Charlie Leonard another win against Jimmy Coita. Only at 51% for the season for Coita, and Brian Volker knew that was going to be a problem going up against Gallagher and Leonard for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame's face-off unit, 2 players drafted in the PLL draft. So, they were good last year. They're better this year with the addition of Gallagher, and they're not weak anywhere, right? And the beauty of having 2 is that face-off is such a matchup-specific position. They always have a backup plan. Most teams do not.
Yeah, they've been rolling the 2 of them out, and Drexel's going to need to find ways to get possessions if it's not off the face-off, and they come away with it here. Final few seconds coming down at Entenmann. And that does it for an action-packed first 15 minutes. You think Brian Volker and his bunch were ready to go with the physicality and intensity that we saw on display? Man, squaring off with Notre Dame. It was even early. Notre Dame's got the last 2 and a 4-2 lead. Headed to the second quarter when we come back to Denver. We welcome you back for the second quarter here between Drexel and Notre Dame. This is the third of the 4 games today. 4 more coming tomorrow, including Maryland and Vermont. And then the winners of that game and this one here in Denver will meet up next weekend on ESPNU in the quarterfinals that'll be hosted in South Bend. Men's lacrosse coverage from the NCAA tournament will continue next weekend for the quarterfinals, with the action beginning Saturday at noon Eastern on ESPNU. For more info on the 2021 Men's Lacrosse Championship, visit ncaa.com. Your home for all 90 NCAA championships. They're letting in 960 fans here, about 46% capacity, bleacher seating only. And it has added to the atmosphere. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco back with you, and off the violation. Notre Dame with it, up by 2 as we start the second.
In this quarter, very important for Drexel. Notre Dame is plus 30 this season in the second quarter. So they better weather the storm that's about to come if they're going to keep themselves in this game.
You're talking about the midfielders for Notre Dame, and Quinn McCann gets absolutely smoked by Jack Farrell.
And look at this, the great form, drops his shoulder, chest to chest. Nothing dangerous about that play, just a good, clean, physical lacrosse.
With a few seconds to spare, Drexel clears. A physical team, battle-tested in the Colonial. Brian Volker said to us, there's not much separation between the top of the Colonial and the bottom of the conference.
Very deep this year. They were very competitive. All the teams pretty darn close. And Drexel has to find the rhythm that they started this game with. They started shooting 2 of 3. They now have missed 11 straight shots.
Notre coming up from X, who is matched up with McCann. He's a spark for Drexel at this end. Same can be said of Donnelly, Bowering we saw with a goal. Genord's got the other for the Dragons. Entenmann had it pried away. Bowering came up with it and then lost an edge against Kilty. Oh, trouble for Bowering, corralling that, a yard sale out in front of Entenmann, and Notre Dame comes away with it.
And too good an opportunity to miss out on there for Drexel. Good offense, they scrapped, they got the ground ball back. They had Bowering open in the middle. Donnelly throws the nice pass. Bowering's got to put that in the back of the cage.
And there's the note you were talking about, plus 30 in second quarters. And before Quinn McCann got hit earlier at this trip down this end of the field, we were starting to say, and you said this, Matt, in the first quarter, you think the Notre Dame midfield, especially a guy like Dobson, is going to be important on how far Notre Dame goes.
I mean, Dobson, you just have to watch him play because he's a big physical kid who can absolutely bomb it from the outside, but he also moves the ball out of his stick almost at perfect timing every time. He never gets double teamed. He makes the smart play, and you love to see that from a player kind of in a non-traditional area down in Florida as a lacrosse player. To know the skill and to know how to play this game at a high level is incredibly impressive.
Flag down after Pat Cavanaugh was matched up with Sean Quinn, who's going in for a slash for a minute.
And here's Cavanaugh attacking. Quinn with the slash. Gets the minute penalty, and guess what? Notre Dame's pretty good at the man up. Almost 60%. 59.5 to be exact on the season.
We'll round up. It's second best in the country. 22 out of 37 for this Irish man-up unit. What makes him so good, Matt, when you watch him this year?
Well, when you have shooters like York and Dobson, you know, who can just absolutely stretch you, right? So the defense has to expand out, and then that allows Cavanaugh to pick you apart as the quarterback. So they kind of have the range shooters and then the traditional quarterback, which is kind of like that perfect combination.
There's Dobson, who had that shot we saw. McCann is trying to find the cutting Griffin Westland midway through the man up, and Drexel comes out with it.
Now Notre Dame's going to apply some pressure here on the man-up ride.
Drexel handles it.
That's a nice job from Drexel, using the midfield and substituting over with a long stick and keeping a man back, which sometimes is challenging, right? When you have one less player in the field, to make sure you do the right math as a player, but executed perfectly for the Dragons.
The Quinn slash expires, so Drexel takes care of it. We're back to even strength. Casey Waller trying to get something going for this Dragons bunch. Spinning on Danny Cassidy.
And they've got Notre Dame rotating. This is what Drexel wants on the offensive end.
Mulcahy lost it.
And when I say that, I don't say it in the way that like Notre Dame's reckless with their slides. In fact, they're probably, you know, as good a slide and recover team as there is. But for Drexel on the offensive end, it's really the only recipe that I can see where they can really create good scoring opportunities, is to get the ball rotating, because they are skilled and they are slick and they're great inside. So Notre Dame's going to continue to play defense the way they always have, because they're one of the best units in the country. But it's those slides that could open up some interior passing for this Drexel offense.
And Brian Vogel was talking in particular about the way Notre Dame defends the backside too, as maybe finding some openings there. Genord working on Ryan Hallenbeck, one of the top short stick defensive midfielders for the Fighting Irish, and Genord is saved by Entenmann. Eight saves for Liam Entenmann compared to 4 you see for Ross Blumenthal. And after the fast start for Drexel offensively, the shooting is dried up for him.
And those 8 saves, credit Entenmann, but a lot of the credit goes to Notre Dame's defense. They are forcing Drexel into low-quality shots and making Entenmann's life a little bit easier.
A lot of the talk throughout the season has been about Notre Dame maybe having 3 #1 cover guys defensively, not just Jack Keelty, but with Arden Cohen back there as well. And then Kyle Thornton, one of the transfers they brought in.
Both those, Thornton and Keelty, drafted in the PLL. Arden Cohen will be, but not until next year when he comes back. So 3 incredibly talented, athletic defensemen.
And Cohen and Keelty, they've been back there for 47 consecutive starts. Tomac gave it up after he came in out of the box. Entenmann a save on another shot from range from Sean Donnelly. Trouble in the clear, but Pat Kavanaugh's there.
And we haven't heard much of Kavanaugh in this game, but he's okay with that. He's kind of that quiet player where, you know, he's never going to force the issue. He's going to make the right lacrosse play all day long. And right now, he is dictating this offense in the best way he sees fit to attack the Drexel defense.
You see, he's a Tewaaraton finalist, named that yesterday. First sophomore to be named such since some guy named Pat Spencer back in 17. And just when you wondered where was Pat Kavanaugh, behind the back for a goal for the Irish.
I mean, he's a very, like, he's like an old school kind of offensive player where so much of his game, I don't want to say basic, but it is. And then he just does this, where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to throw it behind the back and just ping the far corner on a perfectly timed cut. So for someone who's so sound, who always makes the right decision, he can do some pretty special things with the ball and the stick as well.
Mike Golick Jr. just chimed in on Twitter. Pat Cavanaugh seems to know. He leads the league in knowing when the announcers are talking about him. And Matt Ward, we were just talking about Pat Cavanaugh before this goal.
Yeah, I mean, again, just the timing, and then it's the accuracy, and it's just uncanny, his ability to make the difficult look effortless. He knew exactly where that was going. I mean, just look at his emotions afterwards. Like, yeah, I'm just going to paint the corner behind the back to the far post. So 5'10", 170 pounds. Coach Corrigan said his junior year he weighed 135 soaking wet. So good for college lacrosse that he beefed up a little bit, because it's allowed him to become one of the best players in college lacrosse.
And Kevin Corrigan said to us he might have even been exaggerating a little bit on the heavy side with that. And he was telling us a story that Pat Cavanaugh, of course, was out in South Bend a lot when Matt Cavanaugh, Tewaaraton finalist himself for Notre Dame, an absolute superstar in the sport of lacrosse, was playing for the Fighting Irish. And Pat and younger brother Chris, who is also coming to play for Notre Dame next year, they were out playing in the backyard, freshman orientation, when Kevin Corrigan and his staff always have the families of the freshmen over. And Pat and Chris were out playing in the big backyard on a goal they've got back there. And on more than one occasion, someone said to Kevin Corrigan, "Did you see what Pat Cavanaugh just did?" He was making those types of plays in the backyard before he was even in college. You see he's coming off the program record 10 points as well in the last game for Notre Dame to close out the regular season in the blowout win of Syracuse. 25 left to shoot for Drexel, down by 3. Good skip. And that's not going to get past Entenmann.
Ten saves for Entenmann with 6 minutes left in the first half.
17 straight shots without a goal for Drexel. After a fast start, they led this 2-1. And since then, it's 4 straight for the Fighting Irish with less than 6 to go until halftime.
Watch out here. Ooh, big save from Blumenthal.
Staring him down. Yeah, Dobson.
But if you're Coach Corrigan, you're okay with that shot. It's a big athletic midi, and the freshman Dobson sweeping to his strong hand, running towards the middle of the cage. You live with that. Blumenthal just read it the whole way and made a nice save.
Entenmann makes another stop in transition on Luke Hurley, the shorty. Back at the other end. A look down low for Will York. And with 5:08 left, we'll get a timeout. And Notre Dame up by 3. Well, we've already had a few games going so far that have gone final. North Carolina got things started with a win over Monmouth in blowout fashion. And then Rutgers with its first NCAA tournament win since 1990, getting back into the big dance with a victory over Lehigh. And the upper half of the bracket setting up that matchup next weekend between the Heels and the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, Rutgers today was very impressive. Against Lehigh defensively, the Scarlet Knights were too athletic. Lehigh really couldn't create anything on the one-on-one matchups, and Rutgers just kind of dictated pace of play, even though they weren't winning faceoffs. And then obviously North Carolina, the #1 seed for a reason.
Other half of the bracket, the winner of this game between Notre Dame and Drexel will be in action in South Bend next weekend on Sunday to square off with the winner of Maryland and Vermont. The automatic qualifier, they're squaring off tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern time. And then we'll have the game tomorrow to close down the entire weekend between Denver and Loyola, Matt, and that should be a big one.
Yeah, it certainly will. Two very talented and evenly matched teams, so looking forward to calling that one tomorrow.
Well, it's a long scoreless stretch here for Drexel, trailing by 3, and Liam Entenmann has 11 saves already for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, he's been sharp. He's playing his angles. His defense is making the shot quality pretty low for the Dragons. I mean, right here, best save of the day, staring that down. But again, just Entenmann complemented Notre Dame's defense, because he's seeing the ball the entire way. There's none of these shots off quick passes. Their off-ball defense has been very good. 11 saves in the first half. That's a good game total. And Entenmann here, for a team that's trying to upset you, you get goalie play like that, it's going to be pretty difficult to do.
Came in with a save percentage at .580, 6th best in the country, and this week got named to the All-ACC team, one of 2 goalies with Duke's Mike Adler. Kavanaugh feeding, was trying to find Jacobois, who's got a couple of goals already for Notre Dame, and it stays with the Irish. Mo Meyer out there with the top midfield for Notre Dame, with Jacobois and McCann. Jacobois swimming back on Hurley. Kavanaugh quarterbacking, 15 to shoot. Oh, and he scores! Turning back toward it, GLE. Kavanaugh's got his second.
And another scenario where Kavanaugh has Quinn hung up in front of the cage, and then right there, just a quick semi-question mark, right? He doesn't really step away, but he's able to get the ball in and out of his stick effortlessly in perfect placement. And again, it's an interesting strategy that Drexel is implementing. They're letting him stay behind, and he can pick you apart, but then he just showed there he can make you pay on the dodge as well. So if that trend continues, he's going to have a big day.
Matt,
you just can't let him sit back there
as an attack man. Yeah, when you see that, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that it's a mistake. You know, teams on the offensive end, when you get hung up in front of the cage, and when you have a player like Kavanaugh who can feed and see the field the way that he does, you're getting no pressure on his glove to make his life difficult as a feeder. And so you're going to have to rush out and play him at the wrong times, and Notre Dame's good off ball, and you know he can make you pay on the one-on-one side of it as well. So I'm not sure I understand why they're choosing to attack him that way. I imagine they're going to make an adjustment here at some point.
And it's 5 goals in a row now for Notre Dame after Drexel led 2-1. Coming up on the final 3 minutes of the second quarter, and a long scoreless stretch for Drexel. Zach Augustine feeding for Waller, and Entenmann made the stop, but Bowering stuffs it home.
Two of the 3 goals for Drexel off the rebound. Entenmann with the save here on Waller, excuse me, and then Bowering. The nice footwork to stay out of the crease until the ball was in the back of the cage and to avoid the goal mouth. Drexel able to stop the bleeding to cut into that Notre Dame lead by 1.
Brian Volker said to us, it's been a strange year for Reed Bowering, who missed 4 games, about a month with a hand injury. He said, we know, and everyone in our conference knows how good Reed Bowering is. I don't think the general public knows, Brian Volker said, how good Reed Bowering is. And he was involved there on a gritty one after going for 5 in the CAA championship game against Hofstra. John Leahy, the Providence transfer, part of the second-line midfield group for the Fighting Irish. And he scores to answer right back.
Great patience from Leahy on this dodge, redodge. Sets it up by attacking hard to his left so he can roll back to the middle of the field and increase angle, and gets it off just in the nick of the time as the defense collapsed and throws the bounce shot past Blumenthal in the cage.
One of the grad transfers that Notre Dame brought in. And yeah, he's got his third of the year. Jimmy Coit, a much needed win for Drexel off the faceoff. Drexel's done a better job at the faceoff X this quarter. They've won 3 out of 5 going up against Gallagher and Leonard. Tomac, a very confident freshman.
Every shot for Drexel is contested, though. I mean, just look at the communication from Notre Dame. If you feed the crease, that offensive player is going to feel it because there's going to be a stick coming down on your arm.
Just so much traffic out in front. Bowering does get to the loose ball. Notre Dame trying to close quickly on Aiden Call there.
And Call has to put that one in the back of the cage. He did a nice job with his body work, getting his hands free. Just missed the target.
Bouncer denied by Entenmann on Sean Donnelly, who's been quiet here in the first half.
Too many shots from the Dragons, not changing planes, low to low. Entenmann is too well coached and too weathered in the cage for you to beat him. Going high to high or low to low, you have to change directions.
And Notre Dame will take one of its 2 timeouts here with just under a minute to go in the second quarter for Kevin Corrigan's bunch, ahead by 4. Well, Kevin Corrigan in his 33rd season at the helm. Arrived in 1988. He's the longest active tenured head coach in men's lacrosse. And yeah, you see what he did this year, becoming the winningest head coach at a single program in NCAA Division I history earlier this season. And 9 out of the last 10 times, he's gotten Notre Dame to the quarterfinals.
It is a program that he started, and he has built something special in the Midwest, right, where he doesn't get a ton of local recruits. He's got his system. He's got the schools he likes. You know, he just happens to have the Kavanaugh tree that all the brothers want to go play for him, and it produce at a high level. But, you know, he is definitely one of the more intense coaches. He is one of the more structured coaches on the defensive end. And again, offensively, you know, there's always been a question, you know, are they one of the elite offenses in college lacrosse? They've always been pretty good, but it's usually always been their defense. This year, I think you can make an argument on both sides of the field that they have one of, if not the best units.
And look, because of a number of reasons, Notre Dame wasn't necessarily able to schedule the way that it might have wanted to this season. And so you think of where they are out in South Bend, Indiana. You know, they had 6 top 10 games, as Kevin Corrigan has said, because of the ACC slate, and they end up, Matt, with the 6th seed.
Yes, you know, to me, you have to play who you're going to play. If you're the best team, you're going to end up winning the national championship. But Notre Dame, you look at it, I mean, so they lost to Duke by 1. They actually scored a goal, and Kavanaugh's shoe would come off, and therefore the goal is taken away, and you lose that one. And then you have to play a North Carolina team 2 days later, and then you lose to Virginia by 1. I mean, it's to knock their schedule to me is a little you know, short-sighted in terms of how good this team has played, and quite frankly, they could easily be undefeated, you know, against that type of schedule.
Right, and for as close as the losses were, the wins were pretty big wins in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. I mean, they beat Duke fairly easily the first time they played. They beat Syracuse twice going away. The Virginia game, they lost by 1. Entenmann had a one-on-one with Alex Rode in the cage. He almost scored the game winner with like a minute left, so they had their opportunities in those games, and they're always going to be right there as Kavanaugh goes to work here on the offensive end.
Final few seconds of the second quarter. Quinn McCann came up with it, and then he lost it out of his stick in the final moments of the second quarter here at Peter Barton Stadium in Denver. Drexel on a 9-game winning streak. It's been almost 2 months since the last loss for the Dragons. Got out to a 2-1 edge, but Liam Entenmann has 13 saves at the break. Kavanaugh's got a couple of goals, and the Irish have a 4-goal margin. Coming up at halftime, we will preview Syracuse and Georgetown, which will follow this game, the final game of the night. We've got 4 games tomorrow. We'll get a look ahead at a game out here in Denver, the 7-seed Pioneers against Loyola, and we'll walk you through the first couple of games earlier today. It is all coming up at the half. Notre Dame with a 7-3 lead, the 6th seed. Pat Kavanaugh going behind the back for one of his 2. Halftime here in Denver. It's halftime here in Denver at Peter Barton Stadium between the 6th seed Notre Dame and Drexel. And after this one, there's still one more game to come tonight. A monster matchup between the 5 seed Georgetown and the Syracuse Orange. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco back here with you. And Matt, that is a heck of a showdown coming up between old Big East foes.
Yeah, these teams used to perform at a high level against one another, and they're going to bring it today. They faced off 3 times in the NCAA tournament. All of those have come up W's for the Syracuse Orange. And if Georgetown is going to change that today, it's going to fall on the shoulders of Jake Caraway, one of the Thornton finalists in college lacrosse. And if you see the marquee aspect to his game is his outside shooting. His range is phenomenal. Just look at this release, how effortless it is. And then here off the dodge, look how quick he gets his hands moving and the hip rotation. He is a phenomenal shooter for Georgetown. You can see he's 4th in Division I lacrosse with 3.54 goals a game.
Chris Gray was in action earlier. Pat Kavanaugh playing right now. Bernhardt and Sowers still to come tomorrow. And on the Syracuse side, Matt, they've been talked about all year, the Syracuse midfield.
Yeah, this was a team early on in the year. Everyone thought maybe the favorite to win it all, and it was all because of their midfield. Dordovic right here has one of the quickest changes of direction in college lacrosse. Just the plant and then the release, and he can go righty and lefty. They need him to play a big role in today's matchup. And then for Syracuse, the other midfielder, Brendan Curry. One of them is going to get a short stick. It's going to be Dordovic or it's going to be Curry, and they need him to step up and play the way that he has throughout his career. He's a great off-ball player. He's got range on his shot, and he is one of the elite midfielders in college lacrosse as well.
Rafus, of course, a real headliner for Syracuse. Owen Hiltz, the stud freshman. Same can be said of TJ Haley for Georgetown. Well, it's halftime here in Denver between Notre Dame and Drexel. When we come back, we'll show you what happened in the first couple of games and look ahead to tomorrow as well out west here. It's halftime here between Notre Dame and Drexel in the 3rd game of the day, and the 6th seed Fighting Irish lead the Dragons by 4. Well, the first game of the day was North Carolina squaring off with Monmouth, and the top-seeded Tar Heels went to work, and they got the first goal from the new father, Justin Anderson, to start the tournament, Matt Ward.
Yeah, definitely the second best thing to happen to him in the last 24 hours with the birth of his daughter, Scarlett. What a day for Anderson, the senior, who got North Carolina going early, and then they just did North Carolina things. You know, you have Gray, one of the 5 finalists for the Thornton Award, with the outside shot to the far corner. And again, you're just going to see all the things they can do. Tillman launching himself, goal line extended, takes the contact to the far post. I mean, this team is deep. They can put up a lot of points. They lead the country in scoring. And then in the cage, Krieg, the freshman, was a brick wall, and they just push it again. You know, you get the ball to Gray in the right place, the low to high shot, near side, just painting corners as North Carolina advances with that 16-4 win over Monmouth.
6 points, including the record for Chris Gray. And afterward, Joe Bresci said he is a generational talent with what he has brought to this Tar Heels team. Then the next game after that was Rutgers squaring off with the 8 seed Lehigh. And Lehigh, a shorthanded team in that one, Matt. But it's Rutgers moving on with a 7-goal margin.
And a big win for the Scarlet Knights. You know, watching that game, they were just a little bit too athletic for Lehigh on both sides of the field. Defensively, they matched up really well, and that's a big win for the Big Ten. You know, to really, what people said, hey, it was kind of a weaker conference this year. To get that win for Rutgers, their first since 1990 in the NCAA tournament, means a lot for the conference.
Yeah, some validation, absolutely, for a Big Ten that, of course, if you haven't been with us throughout the year, only playing a conference schedule. And so we got Georgetown, Syracuse coming after this game right now. Virginia Bryant, one of 4 games tomorrow. And the game out here in Denver that we're going to see tomorrow will be between Loyola and Denver. The final game of the weekend. And Matt Ward, that should be a whole lot of fun because this Loyola team has had a whale of a week. They didn't know if they were going to be able to even be in the NCAA tournament if they did, in fact, get the at-large spot, but they did, and they will go up against the Denver team seeded 7th.
Yeah, it was a Loyola team that the season started a little slow. You know, they weren't playing their best lacrosse, but they really kind of came together as the season progressed. They've won 4 straight. In those 4 games, a win over Army, a win against Georgetown, the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. So they are playing at the highest level they possibly can. And talk about an emotional roller coaster, right? I mean, they thought their season could have been over because of that COVID test that ended up being a false positive where they had to step away. But luckily for them, the tournament committee said, hey, those wins towards the end against Army and Georgetown, you're one of the 16 best teams. Go make a run for a national championship.
They got to deal with a Denver team that has an elite midfielder in Jack Hanna.
Yeah, and look, Denver's always going to be a slick team. They're going to beat you off ball and with the 2-man game. The difference maker, though, is Hanna because he's their best athlete. You're going to see that he is their best dodger to score for himself. Not a highly recruited player, but he has come into his own at the maturation and the coaching of Coach Tierney. And just look at that, 34 goals out of the midfield, 10 assists, 44 points. I mean, he has been an absolute stud and a force athletically. And when you have a combination of the skill of the 5 other players, and Ethan Walker and Jackson Morrell at the attack spot, and then you kind of put Hanna in there, they can beat you all over the place.
Morrill and Erlin and Kotler, the Yale transfers, going up against the Loyola team that's got some veterans who were playing with Pat Spencer for a couple of years, and now Aiden Olmstead and Kevin Lindley steering the ship for this Loyola squad. So that's coming up tomorrow. We still got plenty of lacrosse here today, including the second half for Liam Entenmann and his teammates, leading Drexel by 4 at the break. Second ever trip to the NCAA tournament for Drexel, squaring off with Notre Dame, which has been to 15 in a row now. Started the 3rd quarter on the way. Notre Dame by 4. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco, our entire crew back with you. We show you some highlights from the first half, starting with Liam Entenmann, the goalie for Notre Dame, who had 13 saves.
Yeah, Drexel started 2 of 3 shooting. From that point on, 1 of 23, thanks to Liam Entenmann in the cage. Seeing the ball great. Notre Dame's doing a nice job forcing low-quality shots from the Dragons. But this, to me, the depth of what Notre Dame can do offensively. We know the attack spot, but then the midfield, the nice passing there. You get Jacobois, who can shoot it low to high and change it up. And then Meyer, the nice lefty sweep. And then Leahy, right? 3 goals in the season, but he's making an impact in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So they can beat you with depth and just kind of a complete repertoire as an offense.
As far as faceoffs go, it was all Notre Dame pretty much early on, especially in the first quarter. And then Drexel with Jimmy Koida and some wing play fared better in the second quarter.
Yeah, and if I'm Coach Volker, I'm saying, all right, look, we're building some momentum on the faceoffs, right? And that's a way to get back into a game. And we're out shooting them. We just need to shoot a little bit better and maybe be a little bit more patient with the shots we're taking.
Big win for Jimmy Koida. He's a fifth-year senior from the Bronx, the son of West African immigrants who next month will become the first college graduate in his family. If you haven't read it yet, go check out the piece Nelson Rice had on USA Lacrosse magazine that came out yesterday. He is a wonderful young man with a heck of a story, and he's got Drexel with possession to begin this third quarter. Luke Tomac matched up with the shorty, Danny Cassidy for Notre Dame. And now Donnelly.
And offensively a little too, I think Drexel's keeping the ball in individual sticks a little bit too long, right? You're not going to win the one-on-one matchups consistently. You have to force the slides, and then you need to make a couple good passes. Right here, again, it's just, the ball is too slow right now, right? Tomac, as he sweeps to the middle of the field, you know, that's a good shot, but again, I'd like to see them play a little bit more team offense.
After a first half in which they went without a goal the last 26.5 minutes, and now a crease call brings it out with Notre Dame.
And that was a nice chance for Tomac. Again, it was kind of that individual mandate to the middle of the field, but Liam Entenmann with one of his better saves there, read it the entire way. Again, you can't go low to low, you can't go high to high. You have to change planes against goalies of his quality and his caliber.
So far, he's been up to the task in every way. In his first time in the NCAA tournament as well, much like Pat Cavanaugh, as Notre Dame turns it over. Some sloppy play between Dobson and Will York.
If you're to look at the stat sheet, right? I mean, Notre Dame's got more turnovers. Drexel has more shots. You'd think, hey, Drexel may be up, but it's been Notre Dame controlling the game. Their defense has been solid. Entenmann's been good, and they are winning the faceoffs. But Drexel has a chance. I mean, this is not by any means an outcome that can't be changed if they continue to do those things well. But again, low to low. The shooting is becoming. The only time you can go same plane is if your first shot change planes, right? Like, you have to get the goalie thinking, am I going to get one high to low and then go high to high in the next one? Okay. But if you start at the same level, the goalie's going to read it all day long. You have to start getting him to think that you're going to do something different, and Drexel hasn't shown the ability to do that just yet.
And I've heard Kark talk about this throughout the season, that Entenmann just does a really good job on shots that are low. I mean, he's got a wide base there, and he goes down to get it. Well, right on cue, Drexel scores. They trim this to a 3-goal margin with Sean Donnelly, the Syracuse transfer.
Donnelly, the redshirt freshman, their leading scorer. The nice patient dodge. I mean, you know, Entenmann's going to make you do that to beat him. Look at no angle off the far post. Perfect placement. That is a elite play from Donnelly. 26 goals on the season. They recruited him hard out of high school, and he ended up going to Syracuse, and ultimately felt it was in his best interest to make the change. And Coach Volkert is over the moon excited that he chose the Dragons to continue his career.
Spent his senior year and his PG year at the IMG Academy, and there's a few IMG guys on this Drexel roster, so he joins forces with them. He has teamed up with Reed Bowering, and Reed Bowering was telling us this week he had heard a lot before the season got started. Hey, this Donnelly guy is going to be pretty good. And they paired up well as McCann let fly for Notre Dame, and Cavanaugh scoops up the ground ball. Jacobois trying to feed York, and Blumenthal scoops it up.
Huge possession here for Drexel.
After the 9th turnover already from Notre Dame compared to the 5 for Drexel, as you were saying, doesn't totally tell the whole story when you just look at the stats. And it is indeed a big trip down for Drexel, trailing by 3, but with the first goal of this second half. And here's Mulcahy scoring, and it's a 2-goal game.
As I say, Drexel needs to have more assisted goals. They shut me up and score their second straight unassisted. Funny how that happens. Mulcahy to the middle of the field. Notre Dame slow to slide, plants his feet. Entenmann can't keep up with it. Dragons down 2 against the 6th-seeded Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
And for Jack Mulcahy, it's exactly what Brian Volker said to us. A guy who had been just an invert guy that was definitely an attackman for them, has really worked hard to get his range better, and off the dodge, he sticks one on Entenmann.
And that's a big change. To learn how to shoot on the run in front of the cage, it's different mechanics than Mulcahy has spent a lot of time on, and Drexel rides it back. Feel the energy. The Dragons are making a comeback.
Feels like Philly right now. And some of the juice coming from the Drexel fan base here in Denver. But off the turnover, Lipka answers right back.
What can't Pat Cavanaugh do? He's a ground ball machine. He rides hard right here. He's going to intercept this pass. And then Lipka looks off the Drexel defense. And the elevator shot, again, talking about changing planes. That's it right there to perfection. Lipka gets his 6th goal of the season. Just when the Dragons were making that comeback, Notre Dame answers the bell.
Yeah, there's your plane change from David Lipka. Maryland native, comes to Notre Dame by way of Syracuse, where he was teammates just briefly with Sean Donnelly. A couple of Cuse transfers in this one on each side. And off the face-off call, here comes Notre Dame back with it after the quick response to that Drexel momentum. He had 35 seconds between goals there. Cavanaugh, the change of direction has drawn a lot of attention from opposing coaches this year that he has. And it's Drexel ball. A foot race for Brennan Greenwald in the clear, and 2 seconds to spare. You got to get there by 60 if you're new to the game for Luke Tomac to take it over. Mulcahy gets it back to the right hand, and Entenmann makes the stop on him. Human clear. Nick Harris, sophomore from Dublin, Ohio, takes it over. Now, you've talked about the midfield scoring. We've absolutely seen that from Notre Dame so far in this one. Here's Dobson. The freshman from Florida, giving it up for Cavanaugh. And Dobson and York again, trouble connecting, and another turnover. 11 of them now for the Fighting Irish.
Those turnovers, the saving grace for the Drexel Dragons right now. Notre Dame letting them stick around.
4 of them have come in this quarter, midway through it in the 3rd for Notre Dame. This is solid mailman who will run with both the first and the second midfield lines. A preseason all-Colonial player who's been quiet production-wise recently for the Dragons. Waller's matched up with the D-Mitty Hallenbeck. Bowering's got a shorty on him as well, and Cassidy, and Bowering bounced it around, and they say no goal. Transition for Notre Dame. Kavanaugh probing. Boy, Drexel had a pipe in the first quarter. A near miss there from Bowering in a 3-goal game. Jacobois. His pass got deflected, and it's the 5th turnover of the quarter after this from Bowering.
Oh, off the top bar. I was trying to figure out. Bowering with a nice individual effort. He got matched up against a short stick like he did on his first goal early in the game. Unfortunate that didn't find the back of the net.
And Brian Volker not happy with his team trying to clear. Now let's see here. The officials are going to come together.
I think Drexel was offsides before the turnover.
A look of incredulity from Brian Volker, perhaps. And so Notre Dame does have it. And
Notre Dame's offside
again for it, yep. And it is an offside call on the Irish. Well, we have gotten that all straightened out, and Drexel's got it now by 3.
But another careless turnover for the Fighting Irish, which is not something you typically see from this offense.
Tomac spun away from McCann and then whistled one low. Donnelly swimming. That's wide of Entenmann.
That was a pretty play, though, from Donnelly, splitting the double team. He couldn't pay it off, but again, shows why he's been Drexel's leading offensive player throughout the season.
Team leader in points and assists. All-Colonial second-team pick. CAA all-rookie team as well for the Florida native. And the transfer to this Dragons team. Call's been quiet. Mulcahy tried to skip it. And as the shot clock was winding down right under 15, it's a turnover from Drexel. I saw a whole lot of energy early on to start this second half, Matt, and it's gotten a little sloppy here the last few minutes.
And sometimes that can happen, right, when both teams are playing in an agitated state. You know, you can make the wrong decisions. The game speeds up a little bit. You just have to take a deep breath and slow it down a bit, as Kavanaugh again has Drexel hung up.
There's Pat Udovich on him that time. Myers shot, Dobson off the rebound. Dobson, the lefty. Udovich on Pat Kavanaugh. Tawaratan, finalist. Trying to make another highlight reel play. We asked Kevin Corrigan, does he do that stuff in practice? And it was a pretty quick no from Kevin Corrigan. Doesn't attempt it.
You're too close to Coach Corrigan in practice to do that, because if it doesn't work, you know, he'll come after you.
You might be running, boys. Kavanaugh went down, but a flag down as well, maybe on Quinn again. Drexel doesn't like it. It's going to be another hold here, it looks like. Another look at it.
Here you see Sean Quinn. He's got him in that. I think that's a tough call. It looked like Kavanaugh is on his way down. He's lucky he didn't get a second penalty there with kind of that post-curricular activity right there with the hands to the head of Kavanaugh.
Greenwald came crashing in as well, so EMO 30 seconds, and Notre Dame trying to get a shot off. Another scrum for it. And McCann had it for a moment. Westland trying to clear some bodies. It's been this sort of game between Drexel and Notre Dame so far. Back to full strength with Will York. So two-man ups for Notre Dame and no shots in either of them.
Right, nice job by Drexel. Easier said than done, right, with a unit that's close to 60%. To hold them without a shot means you're doing something right.
Checked away by George Grippo, and he gets it in possession of Drexel. Grippo, one of their top shorties, started that for the Dragons with less than 2 to go in the third quarter. 3-goal game for the Dragons in their second ever NCAA tournament. They won when they were in the big dance back in 2014. And Brian Volker told his team this week, look, we've got to win, because when we were here the first time, we won this first round game. Drexel scores, and it's Aiden Call's first.
Aiden Call does a nice job off ball, and Donley with the pinpoint accurate pass. Again, you get Notre Dame sliding, and Call with the nice cut to the back post. And the near side finish for the Dragons within 2 minutes left in the third.
This half of the bracket, Notre Dame Drexel. The winner of this one gets the winner of tomorrow's game between the 3-seed Maryland and the Vermont Catamounts. Hey, NCAA men's lacrosse coverage continues next weekend for the quarterfinals, and the action starts next Saturday at noon Eastern right here on ESPNU. And for more info on the 2021 Men's Lacrosse Championship, go to NCAA.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships. Well, 2-goal game after the goal from Aiden Call, bringing Drexel within 8-6, and Jimmy Koida with a face-off win for the Dragons.
He's finding his rhythm.
He had a slow start to the new rules his first couple games of the year, and he's had a slow start in this one. But Matt, yeah, possession has flipped because he started to figure it out a bit.
Yeah, Notre Dame's not going to win this game because they've had more possession. I mean, Drexel has had every bit the opportunity on the offensive end. And that's why we're in a dogfight here.
They've let in just under 1,000 fans here at Peter Barton Stadium in Denver. Just under 50% capacity, packing the bleachers. Drexel faithful getting into it. Final 30 ticks of this third quarter with Drexel down a pair. Mulcahy feeds Bowling, and it's a one-goal game.
The first 5 goals for the Dragons were all unassisted. The next 2, the result of pinpoint passing. Mulcahy does a nice job getting the ball to Reed Bowering, who's now got the hat trick. Guess what? Dragons are within 1. We got a ball game.
Reed Bowering wasn't even on campus. Half the team wasn't for Brian Volker back in the fall. Showed up January 5th to get things underway. They had a long COVID pause, but they have made it to May, and they are down 1 after 2 goals in the last 59 seconds you saw. And now the final few ticks in the third for Kavanaugh and the Irish, and a bouncer nearly went for Pat Kavanaugh. How's this for drama and intensity out in the Mile High City? North Carolina took care of Monmouth. Rutgers had a big win over Lehigh, but we have a 1-goal game. Drexel outscored Notre Dame 4-1 in the third, 8-7 to the fourth. Coming up after this. This week's Sunday Night Baseball game is the series finale between Yadier Molina and the Cardinals, sitting atop the NL Central, and Manny Machado and the Padres. Our coverage starts at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the app with Baseball Tonight Sunday Night Countdown. Well, Saturday Night Lacrosse here out in Denver has not disappointed as far as drama goes. 8-7 Notre Dame, the 6th seed against Drexel in its second ever NCAA tournament. And a whistle right away off the draw against the Dragons. Matt Ward, Mike Monaco, our entire crew with you, and you see it's a Drexel 4-1 run. Matt, what would you like to see flip if you're Notre Dame and Kevin Corrigan here?
You just have to play more sound lacrosse, right? I mean, they had 6 shots and 6 turnovers. Excuse me, 7 shots and 6 turnovers in the third quarter, and that's not winning lacrosse, right? This is a Notre Dame team that likes to have 6 turnovers in the entire game. And that third quarter, they did not play at the level that they should.
Dobson, oh man, nearly stepped down right into a bullet. Kavanaugh trying to shake Quinn. Feeds Westland. Oh, and it's kicked away by Blumenthal.
Blumenthal with the acrobatic save inside. What an effort.
He hung in there with Griffin Westland. McCann couldn't get it off cleanly, and let's see if that is a momentum shift for the Dragons. Already trying to storm back, and Blumenthal with the kick save with Griffin Westland right in front of him on the doorstep. Drexel trailed by as many as 4. 7-3 late second quarter. This game has not been tied since it was 1-1 in the early moments. Tomac. Bowering wants another rebound goal, and this game is tied. Are you kidding me?
A hat trick off rebounds. His 4th goal of the game, his 3rd. While the ball is loose in the middle of the field, the Dragons beginning to believe in Notre Dame, beginning to doubt. We're tied at 8, and right there, just the subtle shuffle shot. The awareness to get the release in the middle of the field, under fire from the Notre Dame defensive players. That 4th goal ties him with Jeff Miller with the all-time goals list for the Drexel Dragons. What a moment for him, and what a big-time goal to knot this game at 8.
Not a bad way to do it in style to tie the record, but a face-off win for Charlie Leonard. And now Notre Dame searches for a response. Still a long way to go out here in Denver.
Let's put this into context. The ACC in the regular season was 39-1 against teams outside the conference, and Drexel is giving Notre Dame everything they can handle.
A Drexel team on a 9-game winning streak, matching the longest in program history. They also did it in 2014, the first time and the only other before this year that they went to the NCAA tournament. Meyer tried to step down, that got blocked, and loose out near midfield. Flag down on the big collision as Sean Leahy took the brunt of that.
Leahy goes over the midfield line, takes the brunt of that contact. The officials felt like it was too high.
Now Brian Volker, I mean, he had his arms outstretched, looking for an explanation. He can't believe that. I mean, Leahy appeared to collide right with Bowery.
And I think Coach Volker is upset that the official closest to the play, who had the most direct shot, did not throw his flag. It was the official trailing. So the official behind Leahy is the one that ultimately threw the flag, and that's what Coach Volker is upset about.
Wow, so Notre Dame with the 2nd best EMO unit in the country goes man up for a minute here, though Drexel has handled it the first couple of times that Notre Dame's gone man up. York denied by Blumenthal. York on the recovery, and Blumenthal again. Man. Trouble in the clear though for Drexel.
Not one, but a pair of great saves for Ruff Blumenthal, the keeper for Drexel, standing on his head, keeping this man-up unit at bay.
He is the son of 2 cardiologists. Heart rates elevated watching this one. He's only given up 1 goal in the second half. Back to 6-on-6. Kavanaugh had it knocked down by Greenwald, but York recovered. 55, still plenty of time to shoot for the Irish in a tie ball game. McCann, he is slippery. Got the shot off with the Drexel D on him.
McCann with a nice hitch step there to get to the middle of the field and to get his hands free for a high quality opportunity.
What have you seen from Drexel and how they're matching up now with Pat Kavanaugh? Anything jumping out to you?
They're playing great. I mean, he's going to have an opportunity here. Oh, I think another save from Blumenthal. But they're playing physical. They're getting their hands on his gloves as he's looking to pass. They're making his life challenging.
Shot clock was about to expire. Dobson fired one high, 3 seconds left, and it'll be a shot clock violation, and it goes right back to Drexel. And now some extracurriculars at the end of it, and it's going on York.
No, it's not. I think this is going to be a delay of game. I was wondering why York didn't throw the ball to the corner there, which most teams do at the end of a shot clock. So it was on York. You're going to see here, I think he actually, if we can take a look, someone checks his stick. Right? So that's a tough break because Grippo, number 17, hit the ball out of his stick towards the end line.
Oh, we've had
Drexel
a couple of
take
calls
the lead
here, yeah, that have left coaches frustrated, and it leads to the man up for Drexel, but Notre Dame scoops it with Kyle Thornton. And now Ryan Hallenbeck.
And that was too early in the possession for Drexel to throw that skip pass. They never made the Notre Dame defense rotate. The more a defense has to rotate, the more their sticks come down and the passing lanes open up to give you those skip passes and the step down shots that man up teams dream about. Too early in the possession for the Dragons.
It led to the turnover, and now Notre Dame with it. So you've got 16 saves from Liam Entenmann, 12 from Ross Blumenthal, the junior from Baltimore. And now Leahy trying to create.
Both goalies on top of their game. Entenmann with 16 saves. Blumenthal with 12, and he has been lights out here in the second half, only giving up 1 goal.
He was so good in the first half of the CAA championship game against Hofstra. The thought was maybe his best half in a Drexel uniform. Well, this might be the best quarter given the stakes for what he's done. Lipka can't get it past him.
Looks great with that mustache as well. Pulling it off in the cage, but also from a facial hair perspective.
Let it eat at this time of the year for Ross Blumenthal. You see, he's been hot coming in. Double-digit saves in 4 straight before this one. And over and back. So to your point, Matt, Drexel went quickly last time, tried to skip, forced the turnover. They slow it down here and will possess.
And you can see Notre Dame is starting to press. Kavanaugh making a turnover, unlike him, with his hands on top of his head, trying to figure out what is going on. They are in trouble. They're on the ropes. All the momentum is with the Drexel Dragons.
Notre Dame has missed all 12 shots this quarter. And 17 in a row, but it's a turnover from Drexel. McNamara trying to locate it in the clear. Remember, Notre Dame had issues clearing late in the season. McNamara being just hounded here by Aiden Call. And Drexel's got it. Notre Dame's last 3 games coming into the tournament, clearing at just 75%, 15 failed clears in those 3 games. First 7 games, they had only had 11 failed clears in total. They had been above 90%. And Mulcahy's pass leads to another Drexel turnover.
Depth going to be a factor in this game. On paper, you think Notre Dame has a little bit deeper roster than Drexel.
Brian Volker said he was thinking about the altitude out here as well. He might even go a few players deeper. They actually got out here quite early, a day earlier than expected. So he was testing the lungs right away on his team. Kavanaugh's got the 2 goals, no assists, and trying to sneak one in, working up from X. Couldn't get it by Blumenthal.
And for the first time all season, Kavanaugh is pressing. Not a high quality shot there, and a couple turnovers.
And now here's Waller. Drexel moving it. They got one more. Got a look. They got deflected on a shot from Donnelly.
I think Kilty just threw his stick out and closed his eyes and was able to knock that shot out of the air.
Coming up on 4.5 to go in the 4th quarter. 8-8 the score, and Notre Dame takes a timeout. Second half, Drexel has outscored Notre Dame 5-1. The Drexel faithful is alive in Denver. There wasn't a hotter team in the country coming into the NCAA men's tournament than Drexel, winners of 9 in a row. And they have stormed back here, led by their goalie Ross Blumenthal. And they are locked in an 8-8 game with the 6-seeded Notre Dame squad that was a trendy national champion pick, Matt Ward.
Yeah, you know, 6th seed is not this Notre Dame team, and Drexel is absolutely competing and right now has the momentum.
Where does Notre Dame go, as you've sensed maybe pressing a bit the last few possessions?
I think their best offense has come from the midfield.
Well, here's one of them. McCann got free to a lefty shot, and Notre Dame runs it out with Kavanaugh.
Another long stick blocking a shot out of the air. I think that's 3 or 4 in this game. You don't typically see that. So you're getting great goalie play, and you're also getting great goalie play from your long stick on both sides of the field.
Oh, we'll take it.
But if I'm Notre Dame, I'm starting with the middies. You know, Meyer here has done a good job creating some offense. And then they can move it and get Kavanaugh into the flow. Right now, I think he's pressing more than he really ever has. So I'd like to see them get it to him through. Nice high quality shot from him.
Almost went.
It was a low quality shot and Blumenthal was there, but look at the backspin as it squeaks between Blumenthal's legs, hits the goal line and reverses back. The ball has to cross the entirety of the goal line.
The rear edges of the imaginary plane, as they say, and it was oh so close for Pat Kavanaugh. And now Drexel with it, other end. A half dozen saves this quarter alone for Blumenthal. Thornton is just hounding Donnelly. Tomac nearly snuck it home. And coming back out with Notre Dame. Notre Dame felt slighted by the 6th seed. that they landed with in the NCAA tournament. But as Kevin Corrigan said to us, none of that matters. Jack Keelty said it this week. You've got to beat 4 great teams if you want to be the national champs. Drexel proving itself as one of those great squads today as Dobson's shot is backed up.
Coach Corrigan, I think, wanting the offense to start at X with a 2-man game with Pat Cavanaugh.
Here he is, trying to shake free from Quinn. He found York, and another one nearly spun home, and Blumenthal covers. Come on now.
That's 2. I've never seen that before. 2 in a row on the goal line, spinning out. And we're going to get an interference call here potentially on Drexel. Oh, that's a mistake for the Dragons. Notre Dame now can basically hold for the last shot of the game in regulation. Blumenthal, 7 saves this quarter. Give me a break, he's been phenomenal.
Notre Dame with just 1 goal this half on 24 shots in the direction of Ross Blumenthal. And they take the lead! Wheaton Jackaboys puts the Irish in front.
They've been calling for the middies to step up for Notre Dame. I think that's been their best offensive set, and Jackaboys dodges down the alley. He's a left-handed player. You see the subtle head fake and the shoulder drop. He gets Blumenthal to bite, and he's able to put it to the top corner. Still interested to know what happened on that clear that got Notre Dame the ball back.
Another huge call in a half that's had a few of them. And Notre Dame takes the face-off here with 70 seconds to go, now leading.
Keep in mind, Notre Dame has 1 timeout, and Coach Corrigan will not hesitate to use it.
Wow. What a game out here in Denver. And Wheaton Jackaboys, who scored the first goal of the game. Less than a minute in, does he score the last one as well in a battle between the Irish and Drexel. I mean, there were 2 that almost spun in, to your point, Matt, right around Blumenthal, and then there was a whistle on the clear, and it came right back to Notre Dame, and Jackaboys capitalized.
Now, if you're Drexel, you have to double team the ball coming out of the timeout. I'd imagine the ball will start with Jackaboys or Cavanaugh, just depending on where Coach Corrigan feels it's best to attack.
3rd game of the day, 3rd of 8 this weekend. The winner of this one gets the winner of Maryland, the 3 seed. The undefeated Terps squaring off tomorrow afternoon with Vermont. And that quarterfinal game would be played out in South Bend, Indiana next Sunday on ESPNU right here. Brian Volker's team in its 2nd ever NCAA tournament. Red hot coming in, squaring off with the 6th seed led by Kevin Corrigan, who has led Notre Dame on so many excellent and deep runs in May. They started with Meyer.
Meyer's in a tough spot here. He's able to break through. If I'm Notre Dame, I like the ball behind the cage here. If you do turn it over, make Drexel put it in the entire field. again, it's one of those things though, right? So you get that goal, you go up 2, now you got a face-off, right? Like if you're at a point, if you're Drexel, you almost get the turnover, let him score. Because they could have killed the entire clock, right? But Meyer does a nice job showing his athleticism. An empty net. Certain coaches always say take the goal. Some coaches say, hey, maintain possession because we can run this entire clock down. So we'll see. Notre Dame has to like their chances, but again, giving Drexel a chance. And here we go.
And Jimmy Corda gets a big win. 35 seconds now for Drexel, down by 2. It's season hanging in the balance. Chenord. Off the deflection, off the official. Drexel with 2 of its timeouts remaining, both of them. And they will use one here with 21.7 to go in regulation, down by 2. Brian Volker pretty calmly getting an explanation there. Short-lived with his team down by a pair. It was 8-8. Wheaton Jacobois put Notre Dame on top. He's got a hat trick to pace the Irish. And for now, Wheaton Jacobois, our player of the game, brought to you by Capital One.
He started the game scoring for the Irish and then netted the most important goals. This game was tied at 8 on the individual dodge. A master of his craft. That last goal was so impressive. It was the slight head tilt and shoulder dip that got Blumenthal, who's essentially a brick wall, to move ever so slightly low and buried it to the top corner of the cage.
And now Donnelly lost it. Arden Cohen was all over him. Final 12 seconds for Drexel, down by 2, and they throw it away. And Notre Dame should be moving on to the quarterfinals. Notre Dame got handed absolutely everything it could have imagined from a talented and intense foe in Drexel, who brought it. But Notre Dame is moving on to the quarterfinals with a 10-8 victory over Drexel.
Credit to both teams battling to the very end. Drexel brought their A game, and they were tough and gave Notre Dame everything they could handle. What a showdown. So the Irish moving on. They'll get the winner of Maryland and Vermont, a game coming tomorrow.